I've been dead for 7 years, and I've become a wandering spirit. That terminally ill Prime Minister comes to my grave every day. This time, it's even more outrageous. He actually drugged the wine he offered as a sacrifice to me. He even said he wants to get back at me for all the grievances I caused him 7 years ago, with interest. Later, he overturned the world for me and vanquished all my enemies. But in the end, he exhausted himself completely, after being reborn. The first thing I did was rush up the mountain and corner that sickly 13-year-old, little sickly sweetheart. This lifetime, it's my turn to spoil you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. Jiyu Chenyuan. You even put aphrodisiac in the wine for the dead. You'd even trick a ghost. If the offerings are spiked, even ghosts will react after consuming them, compared to the living. The only difference is they can't die a second time. Jiyu Chenyuan's figure froze, and he slowly raised his head. Look at me. I froze. His face was also filled with shock. You can see me now. I floated over to him in disbelief. I've been dead for 7 years. In these 7 years, he has never seen me nor heard me. But this time, one human and one ghost, eyes locked in a mutual gaze. Is it just my imagination? I think I saw his eyes redden, but he quickly regained his composure, his face perpetually pale and sickly, showing no emotion. Yes, I saw you, Your Highness. Damn, truly worthy of the legendary, sickly yet ruthless, inscrutable Prime Minister, so calm even when seeing a ghost. The drug in the wine hit me like a storm, and I felt utterly miserable, my voice turning weak. Jiyu Chenyuan, why did you drug me? He looked completely bewildered. What drug? I gritted my teeth. What drug? An aphrodisiac. My rage stirred up a chilling wind across the mountain peak. Jiyu Chenyuan covered his mouth, coughing violently. Only then did I remember that I had forgotten to retract my ghostly aura. His frail body must have caught a chill. Then again, climbing to a position second only to the emperor at such a young age must have come at a price. It is widely said in the court that the Empress Dowager sees him as a thorn in her side. Over the years, schemes against him have never ceased, and the only reason he has survived this long is his sheer resilience. The price he paid is a body riddled with chronic illnesses. With not many years left to live, he finally stopped coughing, his face as pale as a sheet of paper. It wasn't me who did it. If it wasn't you who put it in, it was you who gave it to me. Ghosts suffer just like humans when drugged. Do you even know that? The man who always had everything under control actually seemed a bit flustered at this moment. Then how are you feeling now, seeing me so weak I could barely stand? He actually reached out to support me. I glared at him in annoyance. Don't be silly. I'm a ghost. You can't touch me. As soon as the words left my mouth, my face was slapped. Not only did Jiyu Chenyuan touch me, but he also pulled me into his arms. This isn't scientific. And isn't his action just adding fuel to the fire? I stared straight at him, my hands boldly wrapping around his neck. His pale, handsome face instantly flushed an unnatural shade of red. Aren't you afraid? I deliberately tried to scare him. I'm a ghost, you know, I suck the life force out of men. He fell silent for a moment, his voice hoarse as he retorted, then why did it take you 7 years to come and drain me? This man was certainly no pushover. Even his words could choke a ghost. Before I could figure it out, Jiyu Chenyuan spoke again. I have a residence at the foot of the mountain. I hooked my finger under his chin and whispered in his ear. Does the Chancellor intend to hide a ghost in a golden chamber to relieve me of this drug's effects? Jiyu Chenyuan's ink-black eyes were icy cold, fixed intently on me. Would your highness be willing to return with your servant? I smiled. He truly was a remarkable man, not only unafraid of ghosts, but daring enough to bring one home with him. Only, a ghost cannot stray too far from its own remains, unless you possess a personal item that was close to me in life. Only then can I follow you. At this point, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. But the Prime Minister should know that all my belongings were burned the year I died. Not a single piece remains. I had my throat slit when I died. Empress Dowager Xie said that I, Princess Jiaoyangshan Weiwei, was arrogant, extravagant, and corrupt, bringing disaster to the country and its people, tarnishing the royal reputation, and unworthy of burial in the imperial mausoleum, so carelessly. My remains were discarded in this mass burial ground. It was Jiyu Chenyuan who later found me and collected my body. The world despised me, even the things I used were considered unlucky, and they were all burned to ashes. So for these 7 years, I've been trapped on this mountain peak. The underworld won't take me, and the mortal world is hard to traverse. Jiyu Chenyuan listened, then curved his pale, thin lips into a smile. How would you know without trying? I shall lead the way for the princess. Under the moonlight, he held my hand and walked forward. Along the way, the damned effects of the drug tormented me to the point of wanting to die, and I desperately wished to have my way with him right then and there, yet he patiently coaxed me. Princess, just bear with it a little longer, we're almost there. After all, I come from a royal family, and even in death, I have my pride. It would indeed be undignified to devour him right here in this desolate wilderness, so I held back, unexpectedly. I actually followed him all the way to the estate at the foot of the mountain. Actually, halfway through, the effects of the medicine were mostly suppressed by my ghostly energy, and I wasn't feeling that uncomfortable anymore, but he kept holding my hand and never let go. Jiyu Chenyuan, do you have something of mine on you? He avoided my gaze and softly replied, what is it? I really can't remember giving him anything. He wouldn't say. My curiosity was piqued, and I reached out to search him. He had no choice but to grasp my hand. Does the princess no longer need the antidote? A shred of my remaining kindness surfaced, and I thought of letting him off at the last moment. I've mostly recovered. Since humans and ghosts walk different paths, I won't bully the Prime Minister anymore. Jiyu Chenyuan was taken aback for a moment, then a hint of mockery crept into his gentle voice. Your Highness, it's not like you never bullied me when you were alive. I was left speechless. Indeed, when I was alive, I had once taken advantage of my status as a princess to bully him quite harshly. He actually holds a grudge to this day, and won't even let me off after I've become a ghost. Want to get back at me? I immediately retorted. Times have changed. Back then, Lord Jiyu was still a greenhorn. It was fine to bully him. But now, my lord is delicate and frail, with high status and great power. I'm afraid he can't withstand this princess's bullying. Jiyu Chenyuan wasn't angry at all. Instead, he curled his lips and retorted, then how should we account for the grievances I suffered back then? Is he actually playing the victim now? It seems I have no choice but to play my trump card. I yanked the veil from my neck, revealing that hideous, blood-red scar. A ghost who died a violent death can't hide their fatal wound. I died from a slit throat. Seeing this, can you still bring yourself to do it? Aren't you afraid of having nightmares at night? I know exactly how terrifying this scar is. Back when the murderer who killed me, Marquis Anwu, Xie Lingxian, was disposing of my remains, even his hands trembled. Not to mention Jiyu Chenyuan, who came from a civil official background. Yet, he reached out, his fingertips gently tracing the scar on my neck. Did it hurt a lot? I was stunned. Doesn't he find it disgusting? Jiyu Chenyuan looked up at me, his gaze soft, the corners of his eyes tinged with red. I will make them pay a more painful price. His appearance like this really makes me want to bully him to death. Jiyu Chenyuan, you brought this upon yourself. I no longer held back, recklessly returning his embrace. Two cold individuals, just like that, held each other. Yet in the end, I had still underestimated Jiyu Chenyuan. He appears gentle and frail, yet he directly takes the initiative. Princess, I must offend you. The night grew late. I have already withdrawn all the yin energy from my body, so it shouldn't harm him. But Jiyu Chenyuan is, after all, physically weak. Afterwards, he slept very restlessly, half asleep. I heard him coughing. He pressed his lips tightly, turned his back to me, and tried to muffle the cough as much as possible, but I still noticed it. I'm a bit uneasy. I finally found a human-shaped accessory to help me down the mountain. I really hope I don't end up killing him. I frowned. Jiyu Chenyuan, are you okay? He stiffened, turned around, and looked at me with a gentle gaze. Did I disturb you? With that, he actually started to get up to leave. Come back. I pulled him back. What? Are you scared now? Trying to avoid me? Jiyu Chenyuan, with his picturesque features, gave a faint smile. This humble subject dares not ask. Like hell I believe him. He even dares to sleep with a ghost. What wouldn't he dare? Considering he's been burning paper money for me for 7 years, I decided to show some symbolic concern. Jiyu Chenyuan, Let me coax you to sleep." He looked up abruptly, with an expression of being flattered yet unable to believe it. "What did you say? You helped me tonight, so I, the princess, have decided to personally lull you to sleep as a reward." I pulled him close and patted his back gently, one stroke after another. "Sleep. Rumors outside say this powerful minister is ruthless and unpredictable, but now, lying beside me, he seems so pitifully lonely, reduced to keeping company with a ghost. This night, I don't know if Jiyu Chenyuan slept well or not. Anyway, as I patted him, I ended up lulling myself to sleep first. After all, for the 7 years I've been a ghost, I've been sleeping on coffin boards. After finally finding such a soft bed, it's understandable to sleep like a log, right?" Early the next morning, Jiyu Chenyuan had to attend the imperial court. He put on his crimson official robe, lifted me from the bed, and kissed my eyes. "Princess, would you like to go home for a visit?" My eyelashes fluttered as he kissed me. Home? The imperial palace was once my home, but my family is gone, and only my enemies remain there. Thinking of this, I rubbed my sore waist, which had been strained by his antics last night. "All right, let's go take a look." As a ghost, my range of movement is limited. Not wanting to return to my grave to count ants, I had no choice but to follow him. Jiyu Chenyuan led me onto the carriage. On the way, I still couldn't resist reminding him, "Jiyu Chenyuan, if you truly didn't know about the drug in the wine, then someone must be trying to harm you. The dosage of that drug was too strong, no different from poison." Fortunately, by a twist of fate, he ended up spilling it all on my grave. If he had really drunk it himself, he would have had to report to the underworld today. Moreover, the one who harmed him would likely use their aphrodisiac as an excuse to tarnish his reputation after his death, just like what happened to me back then. Jiyu Chenyuan's obsidian-like eyes gazed at me tenderly as he ruffled my hair. "Are you worried about me, Your Highness?" I nodded. "Yes, I am very worried. After all, the benefits of him being alive are too many. He can stand up against Empress Dowager Xie and her faction of relatives. The Xie family is my enemy, the enemy of our entire Shan imperial clan. Of course, what worries me more is, if Jiyu Chenyuan dies, there will be no one to sweep my grave, let alone buy me the most expensive wine in the world." He seemed quite pleased, the smile in his eyes deepening. "Princess, don't be afraid, those people cannot kill me. Thank you, Princess, for saving me once again." I blinked, feeling a bit dazed. Again, had I saved him before? Jiyu Chenyuan stared at me intently. "Your Highness is kind-hearted, always saving me in times of danger." I was utterly speechless. My reputation is so tarnished that I wouldn't even be allowed into the imperial mausoleum after death, and he actually praised me for being kind. I looked at him with a face full of sympathy. "Prime Minister, poor eyesight is an illness that needs treatment." A faint smile curled at the corner of Jiyu Chenyuan's lips. "Others cannot see the princess, yet I alone can see her, proof that my eyesight is excellent." I was actually left speechless. I even felt that what he said made a lot of sense. When we arrived at the palace, Jiyu Chenyuan went to attend the court session, and I sat on the steps outside the main hall to enjoy the scenery, and incidentally, listened to the officials arguing inside. The dispute this time was about a major flood in Pingju, where the river embankment burst, resulting in over 100 deaths. The person responsible for investigating this matter was the Marquis of Anwu, Xie Lingxian. Xie Lingxian reported as follows: "During the previous dynasty, Princess Zhaoyang, Shen Weiwei, embezzled funds allocated for embankment repairs. To cover up her crime, she also killed several local officials. That river embankment was inherently flawed, and its breach now is entirely due to the unatoned sins of Princess Zhaoyang, who died without facing justice, unpaid for even in death." That scoundrel Xie Lingxian, I've been dead for 7 years, and he's still pinning the blame on me. What's even more ridiculous is that after shifting the blame, he still puts on a show of remorse in the Grand Hall. Princess Zhaoyang was, after all, my late wife. For the crimes of my deceased spouse, I have no way to atone, and I am willing to donate 5,000 taels of my salary to contribute my humble effort to the construction of the river embankment. As soon as he finished speaking, Xie family's lackeys immediately jumped out to echo his words. They cursed me for still bringing disaster to the people even after my death. while praising Xie Lingxian for placing righteousness above family loyalty, truly a pillar of the state. I stood at the entrance of the grand hall, coldly staring at Xie Lingxuan's hypocritical face. He was my husband in name only, yet we fought to the death. In the end, he slit my throat with his own hands. At that moment, I smiled. I finally understood why the underworld refused to take me. I am waiting for an ending. If Xie Lingxian doesn't die, I will not rest in peace. I feel my ghostly aura surging wildly, my mind consumed by a single thought. Today, I must kill him. Xie Lingxian and I practically grew up together. Before the age of 12, I was innocent and carefree, always calling him Brother Lingxian. He once picked flowers for me and taught me how to ride a horse. When I was 12, I heard he had entered the palace again, so I secretly went to Empress Xie's quarters to wait for him. She was still holding his favorite osmanthus cake in her hands, but before I could enter, I overheard their conversation. That bitch Wang Ruoyao, did she think giving birth to a bastard would turn her life around? Now that she and that little bastard are both dead, I've done them a favor by reuniting mother and child. Empress Xie's expression was twisted, her tone venomous. This was completely different from the gentle, loving way she usually treated me. She was scolding, while Xie Lingxian listened coldly from the side. After a while, Empress Xie continued, "The Emperor's health has been declining over the past 2 years. I have no son of my own. I must make preparations early. Wang Ruoyao and her son are dead, but she still has a daughter, Shen Weiwei. First, win Shen Weiwei over. If she doesn't obey, find an opportunity to eliminate her later. The remaining princes are still young. Once one is chosen as the crown prince, I will raise him by my side. Even if he ascends the throne in the future, he won't amount to much. The power of our Xie family will remain secure." The wretched woman Empress Xie spoke of, Wang Ruoyao, was my birth mother, consort Yao. The wretched spawn she mentioned was my younger brother, who died young. I stood outside the door, my hands trembling violently as I held the osmanthus cake. It was hatred. But I didn't make a sound. Instead, I quietly continued to listen. Then, I heard Xie Lingxuan's cold voice. "Yes, without Lady Yao, Princess Zhaoyang is just a helpless orphan girl. She's at that age of budding affection, very easy to manipulate." An orphan girl, budding with first love, easy to manipulate. I curled my lips in a mocking smile and turned to leave. On the way back, I fed all the osmanthus cakes to the dogs. My reputation began to sour from the age of 12, perhaps it was because. From then on, I became harder to control. My father, the emperor, noticed that the power of the Xie family's maternal relatives had grown too strong and wanted to curb it, but he lacked the means to do so. So, I learned to play the game of power and began to assist my father in his affairs. For a time, I too held immense power at court. The Xie family gradually grew wary of me. I exhausted every means to topple this century-old noble house. But what even my imperial father could not achieve was as difficult as scaling the heavens for me. I often think of my mother. She was not a vile woman, just too kind-hearted. She was dignified, virtuous, and always treated others with kindness. Even on her deathbed, she taught me to respect and love Empress Xie, the very one who murdered her. My brother was not a bastard either. He was a little prince with a milky, childish voice. When he heard someone speaking ill of me, he would put on a stern face and go teach them a lesson. But when he called me royal sister, his voice was always soft and tender. But they all died. To kill a venomous snake, one must first sleep beside it. So, I decided to marry Xie Lingxian. The day before the wedding, the palace was bustling with preparations for my marriage, but I hid alone in the pear blossom garden that my late mother loved most, facing the garden full of pear blossoms. I drank a lot of wine and cried in a wretched state. At that moment, an unfamiliar young man barged in. "Who are you? Don't you know this is forbidden territory for this princess?" I instantly felt embarrassed and threw the wine glass at his feet, asking fiercely. The young man, dressed in white, remained neither humble nor arrogant. "I am lost." I looked over with bleary, drunken eyes. He had handsome features and a tall, straight posture, 100 times better looking than that scoundrel Xie Lingxian. My interest was piqued. "What's your name?" His dark, pitch-black eyes looked at me. "Jiyu Chenyuan." I staggered over to him and asked teasingly, "Lord Jiyu, are you lost? Where are you heading?" Jiaohua Hall, I smiled. Come, I, the princess, will personally show you the way. Then, I led him back to my own palace. That year, Jiyu Chenyuan had just passed the imperial examination as the top scholar and entered the palace for the first time. The palace was dazzling with all its splendor, yet his gaze remained so clear and pure, having manipulated power and politics for years. I could tell at a glance that he was different from those scions of noble families, and different from me, too. Our hearts have long been stained and tainted in the vat of power, yet he, like a clear breeze and bright moon, remains so pure it stirs envy. When I brought him back to the palace, he was still holding a memorial in his arms. This is not the Showa Hall. He probably realized he had been tricked by me, and his voice turned 3 degrees colder. I smiled. The Showa Hall is Empress Xie's territory. I've always enjoyed snatching things from Empress Xie, so of course I wouldn't let him pass. Lord Jiyu, if there's something on your mind, why not share it with me? The princess, Empress Xie's place is too filthy. It's not suitable for someone of your stature. I was going to see the crown prince, not Empress Xie. That crown prince is still very young. His birth mother was of low status and has already passed away. The cause of death, just like my mother's, a mysterious illness. Empress Xie raised the young crown prince under her care, but only as a puppet. I spoke bluntly to Jiyu Chenyuan. The crown prince is young. If you tell him, it's the same as telling Empress Xie, Princess, you are drunk. I take my leave. I grabbed him, not letting him go. At the same time, a wave of nausea hit me, and I quickly threw myself into his arms. Uatilda, afraid he might dodge, I deliberately pulled open his collar and aimed to spit right inside. After spitting, I admired my handiwork with satisfaction. Lord Jiyu can't leave now, can he? Jiyu Chenyuan stood frozen in place, his expression shifting unpredictably. Finally, he closed his eyes and actually laughed in exasperation. Your Highness, are you so eager for me to stay? I looked at him provocatively, reaching out to touch his handsome face, gloating with delight. Attendants, assist Lord Jiyu with his bath and change of clothes. Tilda. While Jiyu Chenyuan was taking a bath, I took a look at his memorial. The gist of it was that he believed the Imperial College only admitted students from noble families, resulting in too few talented individuals. He wanted to establish an academy for commoner scholars. Having even secured a location and teachers, all that was missing was funding. I hid the memorial. Soon, Jiyu Chenyuan came out clean, having changed into the pale blue robe I had picked for him. He looked around, then turned to me with a helpless expression. Princess, where are my memorials? Accompany me for a few drinks and some conversation, Lord Jiyu, and I'll return them to you. Jiyu Chenyuan remained silent for a moment, then sat down. I poured him a drink. Empress Xie will never agree to give you money to establish an academy. It offers her no benefit. He took a sip and quietly watched me. I then added, but I can help you. He asked, what's in it for the princess? The expenses of the academy are no small sum. It's of no benefit to me. Indeed, it's just, this princess has plenty of money to spare. I need allies who can immediately bring down the Xie family. Training those commoner students is too slow to yield results. It's just, simply, I want to fulfill this wish of his. After staying in the dark for too long, one will always yearn for the light, right? I suddenly had a strong urge to reach out and trace the lines of his brows and eyes, but his complexion suddenly turned strange. After just one glass of wine, an unnatural flush spread across his skin. Are you okay? I touched his forehead. It was frighteningly hot. Jiyu Chenyuan stared straight at me. The corners of his eyes were temptingly red, his thin lips slightly parted. His Adam's apple bobbing, his voice hoarse and alluring. Princess, you actually drugged your subject. I am so wronged. I didn't drug it. I'm genuinely trying to win you over. Can't you see? To prove my innocence, I picked up my own glass and downed it in one gulp, and then, it got awkward. I ended up slapping my own face. I collapsed limply into his arms, my body temperature even hotter than his. His pitch-black eyes were bottomless, as if trying to suck me in. Jiyu Chenyuan held me tightly, then pushed me away, holding tighter, then pushing away. That cold yet picturesque face was filled with struggle. He didn't know how captivating his eyes, now clouded with desire, were. I'm about to fall apart from being tossed around by him. I asked jokingly, What does Lord Gu take me for? A princess to be carried and pushed around like this? His gaze was burning, his voice hoarse. My apologies for the impropriety. I take my leave. After saying that, he was about to get up and leave, of course. I wasn't going to let him go. Lord Gu, you should think carefully. It would be very dangerous for you to run out looking like this. Gu Chenyuan lowered his gaze to look at me, helpless and aggrieved. But I believe, Your Highness, that this bedchamber of yours is 1,000 times more dangerous than the outside world. I couldn't help but laugh. He really is too adorable. This princess is in a good mood today, so I'll save Lord Gu this once. Struggling to restrain himself, he retorted. Save me, wasn't that medicine you? He still doubts me. I feel wronged, but I can't be bothered to explain. So, I simply sealed his lips with a kiss. Princess, I wasn't satisfied and insisted he change how he addressed me. At a time like this, don't call me princess, call me by my name. Only then did he ask, this humble subject still doesn't know, which princess is Your Highness? What is your esteemed name? I was almost driven mad by him. He got lost in the palace, and what's worse, he didn't even know who I was. But then I thought again, tomorrow, I'm going to marry that scoundrel Xie Lingxian. If Gu Chenyuan finds out who I am, would he really run away? So I held him tight, leaned close to his ear, and teased him with a playful smile. My name is Shen Xianyu, call me little fairy. Won't you? He was, after all, a pure-hearted person. Teased like this by me, his cool and aloof face instantly flushed even more intensely. But he just had to act tough. Fairy, in my opinion. Princess, you should be a sorceress instead, a sorceress. That works too tilde. Indeed, why would a fairy ever bother to bewitch him? Only a wicked sorceress like me would have the heart to taint such a pure person. I, for one, am bound for hell sooner or later. He was already very gentle, but it was my first time, and the pain made me cry. Gu Chenyuan watched my tears fall and made a solemn promise, word by word, tomorrow, I will request an imperial decree to marry Your Highness the princess. I will never let you suffer the slightest grievance. I couldn't bear to tell him that I would be marrying Xie Lingxian tomorrow, so I pretended not to care and gave him a wicked, enchanting smile. Lord Gu, since we've both been drugged today, let's just consider it helping each other out. In the future, you should marry whomever you please. No need to keep a temptress like me in your heart. His face instantly turned deathly pale, and his expression froze. What did you say? I said with a playful laugh, is Lord Gu a powerful minister? I am a princess, and I will only marry a powerful minister who can help me deal with the Xie family. Of course, he was not. He was just a young man who had just entered the officialdom, full of aspirations. Gu Chenyuan's once burning gaze gradually cooled, inch by inch. Only later did I come to know, the drugged wine was actually the ceremonial nuptial wine that Empress Xie had prepared for Xie Lingxian and me. She was probably afraid that I wouldn't willingly consummate the marriage with Xie Lingxian. She believed that only by completely becoming Xie Lingxuan's woman could I be controlled by the Xie family again. The abacus is clicking away. Unfortunately, I accidentally found that wine and drank it with Gu Chenyuan. Is it fate? Gu Chenyuan and I never had a formal wedding ceremony, yet we shared the nuptial cup. Ah, it must be a cursed fate. He appeared at such a perfect moment, yet it was so regrettable. On the day of my grand wedding to Xie Lingxian, through the red veil, I spotted Gu Chenyuan among the hundreds of officials. He stood there, gazing at me from afar, lost and desolate, yet stubbornly wounded. That look made me dare not glance a second time. The wedding night, Xie Lingxian did not touch me. He had long known that I was no longer pure. That news was something I deliberately had someone pass on to him. He thought he was disgusted by my impurity. Little did he know. It was I who found him disgusting. Shen Weiwei, who is that man? I counted on my fingers, smiling carelessly. This princess has doted on so many men. Who knows which one you're asking about? His face was livid with anger, almost turning green with rage. After that, he and I became a couple in name only, loving in public, strangers in private. Using my status as the Marquis's wife, I gathered a large amount of evidence of the Xie family's crimes. Unfortunately, in the end, Empress Xie found out. I died by Xie Lingxuan's sword. When he killed me, he cried even more bitterly than I did. Vivi, Why? Why must you force me to kill you? I looked at him with sarcasm. Because my mother and younger brother were always well behaved, yet they still died. Memories from my past life flashed before my eyes. The hatred and killing intent in my chest reached their peak. I walked step by step toward Xie Lingxian in the great hall. The sky suddenly darkened, and a sinister wind swept into the hall. Kill him. Beneath my feet, black ghostly flames ignite, a fire born of resentment. The fiercer the flames, the greater the power. The cost is the burning of my own soul. But if it means killing Xie Lingxian and destroying the Xie family, even if my soul were to scatter and vanish, I'd still consider it a bloody good deal. But just as my hand was about to crush his skull, an embrace suddenly enveloped me from behind. Vivi, it was Jiyu Chenyuan. He no longer called me princess, he had finally learned to call me by my name. My soul trembled, and I immediately withdrew my power. Jiyu Chenyuan, are you insane? This ghost fire will burn you. Yet he whispered in my ear. His voice gentle and soothing. Wei Wei, be good, don't hurt yourself. Whatever you want to do, I'll help you. As he spoke, he broke into another violent coughing fit. His pale face still held a smile. Trust me this once, okay? I stared at him intently, but his next sentence instantly broke my defenses. I have become the powerful minister second only to the emperor, just as you wished, to overthrow the Xie family. I have plotted for 7 years. Can you grant me just a little more time? His eyes were still so clear. I withdrew all my sinister aura, and left the battlefield to him. At that moment, I suddenly wanted to kiss him. I wanted him to live a long life. I wanted to live a shamelessly happy life with him. Alas, I sighed, but I was already dead. The wind ceased. The great hall returned to tranquility. Jiyu Chenyuan began to detail the crimes committed by the Xie family over the years, using the flood in Pingju as a starting point. From embezzlement and murder to forming cliques for personal gain, he even revealed the year Xie Lingxian got drunk and visited a brothel. The evidence kept coming, one wave after another. Halfway through, he glanced in my direction and curled his lips into a faint smile. Just yesterday, Lord Anwu even schemed to drug my wine. However, I am frail and do not drink alcohol. That wine was meant to be offered in tribute to the late Princess Zhaoyang, as it was her favorite during her lifetime. The emperor seemed to recall something. What kind of wine did the imperial elder sister prefer? Jiyu Chenyuan gazed at me tenderly. Princess Zhaoyang. She loved to drink Qinhuai Spring. Everyone understood that the Xie family was finished. Yet, at this moment, Jiyu Chenyuan suddenly changed the subject. Your Majesty, I am deeply fond of Princess Zhaoyang. I beg you to grant me her hand in marriage. The entire hall fell into dead silence. The emperor was completely stunned. Prime Minister Ji, my elder sister, is no longer with us. Whether she is alive or dead, I will always recognize her as my wife. I beg your Majesty to grant us marriage. The emperor had no way to deal with him and eventually agreed. Xie Lingxian, who was kneeling on the ground, suddenly stood up, glaring at Jiyu Chenyuan with bloodshot eyes. Don't even think about it. Shen Weiwei is a member of the Xie family in life and a ghost of the Xie family in death. I instinctively stepped in front of Jiyu Chenyuan. If that bastard dares to lay a hand on him, I'll make him vanish on the spot. Yet, Jiyu Chenyuan pulled me behind him, staring at Xie Lingxian with a look as if he were already dead. She was never anyone's person, anyone's ghost. She is Shen Weiwei. When Jiyu Chenyuan and I left the palace, Xie Lingxian was taken away under guard. Halfway there, he suddenly pointed in my direction as if he'd gone mad. You. His gaze shifted downward, landing on the scar on my neck. And he turned deathly pale with fright. A ghost. You're a ghost. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, you can see me too. Strange. What's going on here? Xie Lingxian was eventually dragged away as a madman. On the way, I couldn't help but ask Jiyu Chenyuan, where did you find all that evidence? He held my hand and smiled. I'll take you somewhere. He took me to a large academy called Zhaohui Academy. Zhaohui was my title before my death. This is the academy you funded and established back then. Over the past 7 years, the academy has nurtured more than 5,000 students. Most of the evidence against the Xie family was uncovered by them. Grateful for the princess's kindness, they have voluntarily taken action on your behalf. I caught the flaw in his words. Jiyu Chenyuan, you're lying. I died 7 years ago, And the dead don't spend money. The Chancellor was taken aback for a moment, then laughed. The princess is my wife now, so my money is her money. Later, I met his mentor from his youth, an elderly man lying on his sickbed. He can see me too. I finally realized one thing. Those who can see me, a ghost, are all people about to die. Jiyu Chenyuan is so smart, how could he not know? He had long known the day of his death. That day, Jiyu Chenyuan was handling the aftermath of the Xie family in his study when he suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. Then, the coughing brought more and more blood, staining the entire desk red. Jiyu Chenyuan. He still wanted to smile at me, but could no longer speak, collapsing to the ground unconscious. I wanted to hold him, but sadly realized my hands passed right through his body. I could no longer hold him. The imperial physicians came and went, one after another shaking their heads. Even the emperor has come. The emperor dismissed everyone and spoke to the air. Imperial sister, are you here? Minister Ji said he could sense your presence, fearing you might be lonely. He specially bought a house at the foot of the mountain to make it easier to visit you. So, he had known all along. That night when he saw me in front of the grave, it wasn't that he wasn't afraid, it was that he had waited too long, wasn't it? He acted so convincingly. I lay down beside Jiyu Chenyuan's gradually cooling body. Jiyu Chenyuan, I'm here to lull you to sleep. I wish to be the southwest wind, to drift long into your embrace, royal sister Tilda, who is calling me. I opened my eyes and found myself lying in the familiar bedchamber. It was my young brother who woke me up. Elder sister, you've been sleeping for so long. Mother is calling you to get up and have a meal. Tilda, is mother here too? I looked down at my own small arms and legs. I have been reborn. Returned to the age of 10, so, the prayers of ghosts really do work. I ran out of the palace, huffing and puffing as I climbed that mountain. Under the setting sun, the pear blossoms were in full bloom. 13-year-old Jiyu Chenyuan stood beneath the pear blossom tree, holding a book in his hands. Hearing a sound, he turned around and met my gaze from afar. Weiwei, he was still alive, still in his youthful form. He still remembers me, calling my name. My eyes welled up with tears. Feeling utterly wronged. Don't just stand there staring. Come and help this princess already. Jiyu Chenyuan, your little enchantress has crossed mountains and rivers to find you. This lifetime, let me be the one to spoil you. Okay, the second story. I began managing the household at the age of 11. For 7 years, I've been filial to my parents and caring to my siblings, yet I ended up in such a miserable state. My younger brother was a victim of favoritism and had his official position taken by someone else. I took strong measures, exposed the corrupt individuals, and rightfully helped him reclaim his position. Yet, my brother accused me of being narrow-minded, saying that if someone wanted to take a minor official post, let them have it. Why make a big deal out of a small matter and push others to the brink? My younger sister's fiancé took a concubine before marriage, and she was already 3 months pregnant. I immediately returned the betrothal papers and forced him to choose one of them. In the end, the concubine lost the child and was sent away to a private estate. On the day of the wedding banquet, my younger sister, in front of her in-laws, accused me of having a heart as venomous as a snake or scorpion. Claiming I had caused someone's death, she gained a reputation for being kind and magnanimous, while I became the despised. Wicked woman everyone condemned. My father was falsely accused by his colleagues of embezzlement. I spared no dignity, offered gold and silver, and begged every connection I could think of. The colleagues who wronged him were eventually dismissed and investigated. After my father was reinstated to his official position, he didn't offer a single word of praise for me. Instead, he scolded me for showing my face in public, tarnishing his reputation of being as indifferent as a chrysanthemum. My father's colleague found out that I was the one who interfered, causing his entire family to be exiled, so before the exile, he sent someone to assassinate me. After my death, a simple coffin was hastily buried in a desolate mountain. My parents even warned my younger siblings at my grave. Your sister brought this upon herself by not knowing her place. You must remember never to follow her example. The king of hell laughed at the absurdity of my death, with a wave of his hand. He sent me back to the day my younger brother failed the selection. How could you end up as a common soldier? Didn't you say just days ago that with your skills, You were sure to become a captain. Mother's brows furrowed deeply as she grabbed her younger brother Yi Xiangming's arm, asking anxiously. A flicker of displeasure crossed Yi Xiangming's face, though he feigned nonchalance. Perhaps others have achieved more merits than I have, but I just accomplished a feat not long ago, by rights. This captain position should have been mine. Forget it. Starting as a provisional cavalry officer is just fine too. In my past life, I sensed the implied grievance in his words, hinting at an unfair selection process. I took his words to heart and immediately went to investigate. Sure enough, I found that someone had acted out of favoritism and erased his merits. But in this life, I won't meddle in others' affairs anymore. This acting deputy cavalry commander sounds like an official title. In reality, he was just a low-ranking soldier who could be ordered around at will. Wherever he was needed, a single command from his superiors would send him to work, no matter how hard or exhausting the task. But the captain was in charge of military training and command operations. The difference between the two was like night and day. My mother understood the gravity of the situation and turned to me with a sigh. Ronga, look at this. Your brother clearly made a contribution. Yet the official position didn't go to him. There's simply no justice in this world. I immediately interrupted her. Mother, be careful with your words. Xiangming already said that someone else made a greater contribution than he did. If your questioning remarks were to spread, how would Xiangming get along with the newly appointed captain in the future? Seeing that I hadn't caught the hint in his words, Xiangming could no longer maintain his calm demeanor and hurriedly added, Elder sister. Actually, what mother said isn't without reason. The official circles are full of unpredictable changes, and it's not surprising that incidents of favoritism and corruption occur. I deliberately feigned a look of astonishment. Is that so? Sister has truly gained some insight today. After saying this, I gave a slight bow to mother, then turned and called for my maid Bihua to fetch my veil hat, before hurriedly stepping out of the mansion gate. Before going out, Yi Xiangming's hypocritical shout still came from behind. Sister, with my skills, why worry about not making a name for myself someday? Don't go out and embarrass yourself, causing trouble between me and my superior. It seems that my action, in the eyes of him and his mother, is to go out and seek justice for him. I couldn't help but let out a scoff, and instructed the coachman Li Gui to Taifeng Tower. Bihua took the silver from my hand, and cheerfully went in to pack several signature dishes from Taifeng Tower. Before long, the carriage was filled with dishes: crab meat lion's head, roasted squab, steamed fish, crystal pork, and flying dragon soup. Bihua and I dug in heartily, while Li Gui couldn't help but swallow his saliva as he looked at the 3 dishes he was holding. Tonight, he and his family would have a feast. After eating and drinking our fill, we took the carriage back to the mansion. When it was time for dinner at the mansion, I excused myself, claiming I wasn't feeling well, and stayed in the room with Bihua, reading to help digest the meal. In the eyes of my mother and Yi Xiangming, my behavior was seen as, I was so worried about Yi Xiangming's official position that I couldn't even eat. A month later, Yi Xiangming watched the captain who had risen through favoritism thriving in the military camp, and even getting along well with his subordinates, looking at myself. Leaving early and returning late, patrolling everywhere, moving goods, the soles of my feet aching from the wear, even a pair of shoes worn out. He was so anxious he couldn't sleep at night. The next morning, he couldn't wait to come to my courtyard to inquire, Big sister, didn't you go to seek justice for me? How come a whole month has passed without any news? I looked at him with clear, innocent eyes, pretending to be clueless. Xiangming, what are you talking about? What justice? Yi Xiangming was completely dumbfounded. When he realized I hadn't stood up for him at all, he immediately bristled with anger and yelled, What's wrong with you? I've told you that the official world is full of unpredictable schemes and endless corruption. I've suffered such injustice, and you're not going to help me. Are you even my sister? After he finished shouting loudly, I suddenly realized and complained to him, Oh my, Xiangming, you really are something. If you want your sister to seek justice for you, just say it outright. Look at this mess. The captain has already been in office for a month. Is there any use in reporting it now? Yi Xiangming thought about how he was destined to start from the bottom as a common soldier, being ordered around by his superiors every single day. His vision went black on the spot. and he collapsed with a thud right at the entrance of my courtyard. Upon hearing the news, my mother rushed over, and in front of the servants, she scolded me harshly. Is this how an elder sister should act, watching your brother's official position being taken by someone else, and you did nothing? I am so disappointed in you. I lowered my head, tears falling in grievance. That day, mother was also present, when my daughter was leaving the mansion. Xiangming loudly declared that with his skills, he had no fear of failing to make a name for himself someday. He told me not to go out and embarrass myself. Now you blame this matter on your daughter, truly chilling my heart. Mother was left speechless by my retort, her breath caught in her throat, unable to go up or down. So angry she felt chest tightness and shortness of breath. You foolish thing. This concerns your brother's future. How can you just stand by and do nothing? I looked guilty and offered a solution. Mother is right. This concerns Xiangming's future. You should go to the military camp today to seek justice for him. Li Gui, hurry and prepare the carriage to take my mother to the military camp. Li Gui acknowledged the order and immediately went to prepare the carriage. The mother, who had been so aggressive just moments before, suddenly had a complicated expression on her face. Her lips twitched, and she stammered, "You go ahead. I need to stay at the estate to take care of your brother." I twisted the handkerchief in my hands and said timidly, "The military camp is full of men. How can I, an unmarried young lady, go out and show my face in public? You, mother, are different. As the wife of an official, your words carry weight, and others certainly wouldn't dare look down on you." Mother froze in place, silent. Seeing this, I continued with my sarcastic tone, "Mother, why are you just standing there? Hurry up and get in the carriage to seek justice for Xiangming." She was put on the spot and couldn't back down, raising a hand to press my temple, pretending to feel dizzy. "Heiang, my head is so dizzy. Quickly help me back to the room to lie down for a while." "Wanting the maid to help you back to the room, that won't do." I grabbed her by the arm and was about to shove her into the carriage. "Mother, you can lie down in the carriage just the same. This concerns Xiangming's future. You must go quickly, better sooner than later." At this moment, she knew she was in a hurry, her body twisted like a rope, refusing stubbornly to get into the carriage. Let your father go another day. Mother is truly too dizzy. My father valued his pride more than his own life, so he would never have gone to complain to the commandant. In the end, naturally, no one stood up for Yi Xiangming. With no path to advancement through the civil service and his father unwilling to humble himself to secure him an official post, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and start from the bottom as a common soldier. It never rains but it pours. The captain stood his ground, likely feeling guilty about his improper rise to power. Before long, he began finding ways to torment Yi Xiangming, piling all the dirty and exhausting work onto him. Yi Xiangming rose earlier than the roosters and slept later than the dogs every day, and within a few days, he had become gaunt and emaciated. But father and mother had no time to concern themselves with him, because the fiancée of his younger sister Yi China, Liang Ji, had gotten his concubine pregnant before marriage, and the scandal had become widely known. This matter was far from honorable. Any family with a sense of dignity would be troubled by it. I would never do something like having a child out of wedlock before getting married. In my previous life, when this matter came to light, I found it suspicious. Such a disgraceful affair should have been kept under wraps. So why did it become the talk of the town? After sending people to investigate from various angles, I found out that it was the concubine named Dao Hua who deliberately spread the news. The purpose was to make Yi China back down, as she was unwilling to be a concubine. After I learned that Peach Blossom was quite cunning and not to be trifled with, I took a firm stance, returning Yi China's betrothal papers to the Liang family and forcing them to choose between the two. The Liang and Yi families were well matched in social status. If the engagement were called off, they would never find another match of equal standing. The alliance between the two families was originally intended to unite their strengths. After I bribed the physician to claim that the concubine was carrying a female child, the Liang family decisively chose Yi China. Seeing the Liang family abandon Dao Hua and the child in her womb without hesitation, Yi China instead believed it was because the Liang family valued her. She showed no gratitude towards me, instead blaming me for meddling in her affairs. She's just a plain-looking, lowly concubine. If she stays in the Liang family, I have plenty of ways to deal with her. So what if the bastard in her belly is born? It's just a child born out of wedlock, and such offspring are nothing but slaves to be beaten and scolded by their masters. You had to go and return the betrothal letter, upsetting my husband's family. Big sister, are you perhaps trying to ruin my marriage because you can't get married yourself? She assumed that Dao Hua had used underhanded means to seduce Liang Ji into getting her pregnant, and didn't take her seriously at all. But she overlooked the fact that the Liang family had only one male heir for 3 generations, placing great importance on having descendants. If Dao Hua gives birth to a son, the Liang family will surely nurture him carefully, which would inevitably threaten her position. But all of this has nothing to do with me anymore. In this lifetime, I will not stand in the way of Yi Qina as she walks the path she was meant to take. Father muttered a few words about impropriety before burying himself in his study to seek peace and quiet. With no intention whatsoever of stepping in to have the Liang family send that concubine away, Mother, however, saw things clearly, knowing full well that keeping that child would surely bring disaster, and as usual, she fixed her pleading gaze on me, hoping that I would clear the obstacles for Yi Qina. I slightly turned my head away, sipping my tea as if I hadn't noticed her hopeful gaze. Before long, she couldn't hold back anymore, tears welling up in her eyes, and she said in a tearful voice, "Ronga, how did your sister end up in such a mess for no reason? That concubine cannot be kept. Quickly prepare gifts and go to the Liang family, have them abort the concubine's child and then send her away." I did not respond to my mother's words, instead turning to ask Yi Qina, "Sister, do you agree with what Mother said?" Yi Qina takes after our father in temperament, inexplicably self-assured. She lifted her head with a look of disdain. "She's just a lowly concubine. Perfect to keep as a foot-washing maid." My mother sighed anxiously and laid out the matter plainly. "The issue isn't the concubine herself, it's the child in her womb. We can't let her give birth to the Liang family's firstborn son." Yi Qina didn't even lift her eyes, speaking with confidence. "It's a trivial matter. After I marry into the Liang family, I'll just get rid of that unwanted child." Mother was furious, knowing it was useless to reason with someone like Yi Qina. So she turned her gaze to me. "Ronga, what do you think about this matter?" I set down the teacup in my hand and cut her off. "Mother, my sister is getting married next month. I must go and make the preparations." With that, I turned and left. The mother had long been out of touch with household affairs. Suddenly tasked with managing Yi Xiangming and Yi Qina's matters, she found herself willing but unable to meet the demands. The solution she came up with was to send silver to the captain and the concubine. The other party took the silver, but the situation made no progress. Dao Hua remained safely resting at the Liang residence, while Yi Xiangming returned home even later than before. Giving others a handle, isn't this just asking for trouble? Time flew by in the blink of an eye. On the day Yi Qina was to be married, the mansion was decorated with lanterns and streamers, bustling with excitement. Her mother, filled with anxiety, watched the bridal sedan chair disappear into the distance. The next day, I looked at the message brought back by Pinghua, Yi Qina's dowry maid, and was so delighted that I rolled around on the bed. That Dao Hua really isn't a good sort. On the wedding night, she actually managed to drag Liang Ji away from Yi Qina's room. Yi Qina waited alone in her empty room until the second watch of the night, then sent someone to inquire, only to learn that Liang Ji had gone to Peach Blossom's quarters. Furious beyond measure, she rushed recklessly to Peach Blossom's courtyard, dragged the woman out of bed, and beat her. Peach Blossom clutched her stomach and cried out in pain, prompting Liang Ji to slap Yi Qina without a word of explanation. Yi Qina stood frozen in place, holding her red and swollen cheek, staring in disbelief at the man before her. Before marriage, he had clearly promised to love and protect her. Yet on the very first day of their marriage, he laid hands on her. Yi Qina cried all the way back to the bridal chamber, buried herself in the quilt, and wept until dawn without seeing Liang Ji come to comfort her. Upon hearing that the child in Tao Hua's womb was a boy, old Madame Liang, not only did they not help Yi Qina, but they also threw a pile of worthless materials at her to copy. Let her understand what it means to be magnanimous and to regard her husband as the center of her world. Peach Blossom was overjoyed, and she went to Yichina with her belly proudly protruding, speaking with feigned sweetness and concern. "Sister, you must be tired from all that copying. I've specially brought some hand cream for you to soothe your hands." Yichina looked up, and upon catching sight of the distinct red mark on Taohua's neck, she exploded with rage on the spot. Her eyes blazing with fury, she lunged at Taohua's face with her sharp nails. "You reckless, lowly concubine! How dare you flaunt yourself before me, the mistress? I'll tear you to pieces alive." As they were fighting, Liang Ji arrived again. Dao Hua threw herself into Liang Ji's arms, weeping like a rain-soaked pear blossom, her fragrant shoulders trembling. The maid nearby spoke up at the right moment, tearfully explaining that Dao Hua had only come with good intentions to deliver medicine, but was instead beaten by Yichina. Yichina's maid tried to defend her, but Liang Ji simply didn't believe it. Peach Blossom's affected manner made Yichina as furious as a bristling hedgehog. She reached out to pull Pear Blossom out of Liang Ji's arms to hit her. Liang Ji slapped her twice in return. That very day, Yichina packed her bags and returned to the Yi family. "Mother, Liang Ji is protecting that wretched concubine everywhere. Please help your daughter and make the Liang family beat her to death." Hearing this, I could barely hold back my laughter. It's too late to make demands only after you've married into the family. Seeing her daughter's cheek swollen like a steamed bun, the mother's chest heaved with rage. "Ronga, look at what they did to your sister. That Liang Ji is truly despicable." I put on a sorrowful expression, and chimed in, "With my sister hurt like this, you must not let Liang Ji off easily." Although mother loved Yichina dearly, she couldn't bring herself to cause a scene at the Liang residence. We cursed Liang Ji to the skies with our words, but in reality, we were just shifting the blame onto each other, without ever mentioning going to the Liang family to stand up for Yichina. Yichina noticed I wasn't helping her as earnestly as usual. A flicker of astonishment passed through her eyes as she grabbed my wrist, pitifully pleading, "The Liang family are all scoundrels, bullying me relentlessly. All the good food and comforts go to that wretched concubine. While I'm locked up copying texts, elder sister, look how my wrist is so tired it can barely lift." I sighed softly and withdrew my hand. She said indifferently, "The Liang family is so outrageous. When father returns from duty, you must have a good talk with him. There's a lot going on in the household." "I'm busy. You and mother can chat slowly." 05. Yichina waited until her father returned from duty, and immediately rushed forward, crying and complaining, after hearing the reason. Father immediately put on a stern face. "You've only been married for a few days, and you're already back at your parents' home. If this gets out, where will I put my face?" Li Gui, quickly hitch the carriage and send her back to the Liang residence. Yichina stubbornly refused to go back. If she were to go back in such a disgraceful manner, how could she ever save face? At that moment, Yi Xiangming returned, dragging his exhausted body. Yichina immediately fixed her pleading gaze on him. "Brother, that scoundrel Liang Ji bullied me. You have to stand up for me." Yi Xiangming was so exhausted he felt dizzy, and had no mind to pay her any attention. Heading straight back to his room to rest, the next day, Liang Ji came to pick up Yichina. Yichina lifted her head and pouted, thinking that my mother and I would surely scold Liang Ji. To my surprise, my mother and I kept up forced smiles the entire time, until she got into the carriage, without hearing a single word of blame toward Liang Ji. Inside the carriage, Liang Ji breathed a sigh of relief. "Your mother and elder sister are truly reasonable people. You should learn from them." Yichina tore the handkerchief in her hand to shreds, and returned to the Liang family seething with anger. No sooner had one wave subsided than another rose. Her uncle had come to ask for a handout. In my previous life, whenever my uncle came to ask for money, my mother was unwilling to break ties with her family, so she would always hint for me to turn him down. But no sooner had I seen my uncle off, she immediately took the silver to her uncle's house herself. That girl Rong has been managing the household for so many years. She's developed a selfish and self-serving nature, treating the family's silver as her own. Even these 10 taels of silver were hard for your sister to scrape together. Her uncle weighed the silver in his hand and said indignantly, "A mere girl, what right does she have to manage the household over you? You should take back the authority of managing the household as soon as possible." When mother managed the household, All the shopkeepers in the Yi family's businesses were replaced by her relatives. It was like raising a swarm of locusts, all relying on the Yi family for food and drink. Until father was promoted to the position of director in the Ministry of Revenue, with no silver at home to host a feast and relying on grandmother's dowry to support the family, grandmother, in a fit of anger, took back mother's authority to manage the household, to protect mother's reputation outside. It was only said to others that she fell ill after giving birth to Yi China and couldn't handle the toil, which is why I took over managing the household. This responsibility lasted for 7 years.